Welcome back, Vipers. We're at the board with another episode of This Week with Cheek. I'm Coach Cheek. This is my main pig, Bergie. And this is, this is Meghan Trainor. And you might be thinking, why is Meghan Trainor appearing on This Week with Cheek? Well, let me tell you, Meghan's going to help us out with our next math concept because it truly is going to be all about that base. Thanks, Meghan. Now let's take a look at some rules of exponents. Our first rule, the product of powers. So, when the bases are the same, keep the base and add the exponents. When the bases are the same, keep the base and add the exponents. Let's look at our first example. We've got 2 squared times 2 to the 4th. 2 is going to be our base. This 2 and this 4 are going to be our exponents. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at what I call expanded form. So we're just going to expand both of these terms, or both of these expressions out, 2 times 2, and then 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That's a total of 6 2's being multiplied by themselves. That's why we can apply our rule, 2 squared times 2 to the 4th. We can simply keep the base and add the exponents. 2 plus 4 giving us 6. And how many 2's did we have again? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 to the 6, or in standard form, 64. Let's take a look at our second example. 3 squared times 3 to the 3rd. Again, we can expand our expression and see that we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 3's. So instead of having to expand our expression each time, we can simply keep the base and add the exponents. That gives us 3 to the 5th in exponential form, or in standard form, 243. That's our first rule. Remember, it's all about that base. Let's take a look at the second rule. Quotient of powers. So when the bases are the same, keep the base and subtract the exponents. So this time we're dividing, right? Quotient, so that's the answer to a division problem. When we're dividing a power by power, we keep the base and subtract the exponents. Our first example, again, we're going to go to expanded form. So we expand out 2 to the 5th, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, divided by 2 times 2. Well, what happens when we do that, each of these 2's will divide out. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And what does that leave us? 3 2's being multiplied by each other in the numerator. And so what we see here is we can simply keep the base and subtract our exponents to get 2 to the 3rd. In standard form, that would be 8. Our second example, 3 to the 3rd divided by 3 squared. Again, we expand out our first term, 3 times 3 times 3, divided by our second term, 3 times 3. We keep our base and subtract our exponents. 3 to the 1st is 3. On to our third rule. Power of products property. This is a little different. Still all about that base, but pay close attention. When the bases are the same, wrong. When the bases are different this time. When they're different. But the exponents are the same. So we've switched. We're going to multiply the bases and keep the exponent. Again, we got to pay close attention here. This time our bases are different, but our exponents are the same. So let's look at some examples. 2 squared times 3 squared. In expanded form, you can see how we expand this expression out, and then we're able to regroup 2 times 3 and 2 times 3. Our rule says that we multiply our bases and keep the exponent. That gets us 6 squared, or 36 in standard form. Another example, 5 cubed times 2 cubed. Again, our bases are different, exponents are the same. So we're going to multiply our bases. And I got a 4 there. That should be a 2. What am I doing? This should be 5 times 2. That gives us 10 cubed, or 1,000 in standard form. And our last rule for this video, power of a power. So we're literally taking one power, a to the m, and we're going to raise it to the power of n. So when we do this, to find the power of a power, we can simply multiply the exponents. So we have our base, we're going to keep that. And if you'll notice in expanded form, if I can get this to move here. So I've expanded this. I'm taking 2 squared, multiplying it by itself 3 times. So I'm taking 2 squared, multiplied by 3, and I get 2 to the 6th, or 64. One more example. 5 to the 4th squared. Again, you can see here, we write it in expanded form, multiply it by itself. We're going to simply keep the base, multiply our exponents together, and we get 5 to the 8th, or this whopping big number, 390,625. Hey, thanks, Meghan Trainor. It really is all about that base.